Hey guys, Ray Bashir here with Blue Shield Tactical Systems. Today I wanted to talk about why vascular neck restraints should not be banned across the United States and is a useful tool for law enforcement. As some of you may know, Representative Speaker Corey Johnson has submitted a bill in reference to police chokeholds. Now, when you just generalize that term chokehold, it sounds awful. You know, it sounds like that obviously police are just killing people because of these chokeholds, which is not true. And, you know, the thing about it is what brought this to light was the George Floyd case, and that is not something that's taught in law enforcement. That's not something that instructors teach. Even when we do teach vascular neck restraints, which that wasn't, but even when we do teach vascular neck restraints, they're not like that. They're not to that degree. We don't teach them to hold them that long. There's certain parameters that go into place with a vascular neck restraint. Matter of fact, I think Mr. Johnson needs to speak to doctors to look at the statistics for a vascular neck restraint, not a respiratory restraint. And if they're talking about banning a respiratory restraint across the United States, I have no issue with that. A respiratory restraint would be to the front of the trachea, and it takes approximately 36 pounds of pressure to the front of the trachea to cause damage. Now, I've had a vascular neck restraint applied to my neck probably somewhere around 1,000 times. I've been a martial artist for over 14 years. I've trained in vascular neck restraints. I've applied it to other people with vascular neck restraints. I've seen people go unconscious from vascular neck restraints. Now, what is a vascular neck restraint? That is where pressure is applied to both sides, not just one, but both sides of the neck, decreasing the blood flow to the brain. In other words, it decreases the oxygen that's carried to the brain and it causes unconsciousness. That is generally achieved within 7 to 15 seconds. 7 to 15 seconds. So it's not something that's drawn out. There's a study that was out of the 2007 study on neck restraints done by the Canadian Police Research Center. There's also the Mitchell report that incorporated doctors' opinions, like I said, cardiologists, neurologists, who examined the vascular neck restraint. They hooked people up to monitors when they were applying it, and they didn't see a reason why it should be deadly force unless you go outside the parameters that are taught in courses that are taught by law enforcement officers, law enforcement instructors. And that is, we don't hold it longer than 30 seconds because it causes unconsciousness with 7 to 15 seconds. And here's the thing, some people have already stopped listening because they don't care. Some people have already, they don't care about statistics either. They just are making these decisions based on emotion alone. I mean, where do we come in our society when we start making decisions just on emotion or what some people think? How about we look at the data? And the data doesn't suggest that this should be banned across the United States. Matter of fact, if it were automatically causing death, don't you think that the UFC fighters would be dead? Many of those, we've seen them on TV, right? If any of you ever watch mixed martial arts, you see people placed unconscious. Then they turn around and they're standing up next to the winner that placed them unconscious within a few minutes. They're standing next to them, getting their hand raised. And the argument will be, well, yeah, Ray, but those are professionals and there's a referee in the ring and this and that. Well, if you think that it automatically would cause serious bodily injury or death, don't you think that the UFC, who has doctors who have reviewed all these techniques, would have banned it? Don't you think that they would have said, no, people can't do that because automatically it kills people? That's just not the case. The misnomers, again, is that it stops all the blood flow to the brain. That's not true. It decreases the blood flow to the brain and causes unconsciousness. It can. But here's the other statistic, guys. Most people, when it's applied by a law enforcement officer, they don't go unconscious. They comply. The only reason law enforcement is using force out here in these situations is because the other person is resisting. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we looking at that? Why aren't we saying that this is important? Stop fighting with police. Stop resisting. And you don't have to worry about these situations. When you take away tools from law enforcement, you cause the potential for them to have to use their gun. When you take away tools like the vascular neck restraint, or the taser, or the baton, or the pepper spray or other control tactics that they use, you're going to cause more lives to be in jeopardy than you are saving lives by banning something. So I hope the legislatures, they look at this, the lawmakers, and they say, this is not based in statistics. It's not based in data. It's based on emotion. And us as a society, guys, have got to start coming to the realization that there's people that are out here that are emotional about law enforcement and frankly hate law enforcement. So they want to get rid of, they want to dismantle police departments. They're tackling the vascular neck restraint. Again, the technique actually saves lives. It does. And here's how it does. It's because if an officer is fighting on the ground with someone, and it's to that point to where they're becoming exhausted, and they're thinking, I may have to kill this person. They can apply a vascular neck restraint, possibly, right? As long as it's an option for them. Place this person unconscious, which we know now that most people don't go unconscious. Most likely they're going to comply, so the officer could actually still reduce pressure, hold it, and the partner be able to cuff them. Okay? But if they don't have that as an option, guys, then what they do is they'll pull their gun and they'll end up shooting and killing this person. So when you're taking away tools, you're creating, and someone will take away the firearm. But when you take away those tools, guys, you're increasing the chances of the officer being hurt or killed, or you're increasing the chances of the person who is resisting, by the way, being hurt or killed. We got to use common sense here. Got to use common sense, not emotion, right? If a department wants to keep vascular neck restraints as deadly force, and again, I'm all for banning respiratory restraints. That's not what is taught in law enforcement, so let's get past that. That would be to the front of the trachea again. I'm all for banning those, but vascular neck restraints need to be taught even if you're an administrator and you're listening, even if you want to keep it as deadly force. I have no issue with that. But here's the issue as well. An officer may apply that in the field, and it's a deadly force situation, right? They apply the traditional, what we consider around the neck here within the V of the elbow. They apply that, and this person goes unconscious. The person is no longer fighting with the officer, and the officer continues to hold it. He continues to hold it, or she continues to hold it. Why? Because they never have been taught that they have an opportunity there to save this person's life by rolling them over, putting them in handcuffs, because they have approximately 20 to 30 seconds there to be able to roll them over, put them in handcuffs, and they've actually saved this person's life, and roll them up into a side recovery position, which is something that's taught. Not what you saw in video, guys. Nobody teaches that. So quit with the knee-jerk reactions here, and quit responding with emotion. Respond with statistics. Look at what the doctors are saying. Look at what the studies are saying, and hopefully we can make a change with statistical data, not emotion. Guys, please be safe out there. Thanks.